Warchant audience, let's celebrate together as we discuss the top 40 list. That's Matt LaSerre. You know him, all things recruiting at warchant.com. I'm Jeff Cameron. We'll countdown, go 25 to 21 tonight on the list. Nice hat, Matt, by the way. I have
Thank you.
Yeah, quality hat. All right, so I think right from the beginning, this is the most controversial one we have right off the bat is you and I differ greatly on TJ Ferguson. For those that don't know, that's a guard. He came over from Alabama, and Matt, you didn't have him ranked.
I didn't realize that just now.
You realized that just now?
Yep.
I had him 15th. So there's a juxtaposition of
great difference,
a sizable amount. But here's the thing. You know, this is the first video you and I have had a chance to do together regarding this list, anyhow. And this is a great conversation starter because it's the thing that is so different than when we put these lists together 3 years ago. All of us have talked about this. It was a desperate attempt to find 40 players to even include at one point, let alone argue whether or not somebody should be 20th or 35th or 17th or 15th or not ranked at all. Florida State's got a lot of depth right now. The floor has been raised to a place where these kinds of things can happen, where you got a guy at 10 and I got him at 32. I got a guy at 15. You don't have him ranked. Talk about your thoughts on Ferguson. I'll tell you quickly, I've got him there because I think they purposely brought in two sizable guards in the offseason with the express intent of getting better at running the football. If he's not great, they'll have to replace him, and I'll be wrong. If he is, then you'll be way off the mark, so we'll wait and see. But I think that's why they did it.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm going to be way off the mark. Like I said, I just didn't realize I didn't have him ranked just now. I do like him. I really do like him. He did good in spring camp. This is one of those where I'm like, this list was probably made, a month ago at this point? Where I'm just like, what was I even thinking? I'll already start making my off the mark list right now because I do think he'll be good. I do think he'll start, and I think he's going to be because that running game with those 3 running backs or 4 running backs, however, has to be good in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that when guys are newcomers, it's easy to overlook them, or if there's a spot where there's a lot of competition, it can happen. I'm guilty. I did the same thing, by the way, with Conrad Hussey. I didn't have him on my list, and then all of a sudden the list comes out, and I see everybody's got him on the list. I'm like, oh, damn, I forgot about Hussey. So it can absolutely happen. I think Florida State needs him to continue the trend that he's on, which is that he didn't play early on at Alabama at all. Then he got in a little bit. Then he started playing more. Then all of a sudden he plays in 12 games. He was clearly trending in the right direction. So I think we'll wrap it on Ferguson just by saying TJ is moving in the right direction at 323 pounds, 6'4". They're hoping he can run the ball. Cam Riley is a linebacker that came in from Auburn. Initially, when he announced his transfer, he said he was going to go to NC State. And we thought, well, damn it, another linebacker got away. Matt, you have him at 22. I have him at 13. We really, both you and I, had him the highest on this list. We felt very good about what he was going to provide. I'm excited to see that level of athleticism. He's got size to boot. He was at one point a tackling machine, sideline to sideline. It could be interesting to see what he is with this defense because you and I have talked a little bit about linebackers before. They've got to find some depth there.
Yeah, they do. And I remember when he decommitted from NC State, it was on draft night, and it kind of lurked in the shadows when Florida State was going back after him. And I'm excited to see him. That's probably the guy I'm most excited to see when it comes to fall camp because it's just we have no really reference because he did get benched at Auburn come last year. Now, that could have been in disagreement with Hugh Freeze. We know how – I have my opinions on Hugh Freeze. I don't know what yours are, but who knows what could have happened there. But that year before, he was really good. Really, really good. And that's something that could be huge for Florida State, especially with 2 linebackers. You put him next to DJ Lundy. You put him next to Justin Cryer, who we had lower on the list. Those are 2 – that's a huge position that's been of need, and I think he could move the needle a lot.
I'll tell you this, Matt. I think he's also a guy at 242 pounds, 6'5", with the long arms. If he gets any bigger, he's going to get run at end. I mean, they're going to move him around, right? We're looking for Blake Nicholson to have a big year. You mentioned DJ Lundy and Justin Cryer, who I like a lot. I just think this is an insurance policy who could end up paying huge dividends because he is athletic. Look, man, that guy ran track in high school and was a top 25 linebacker coming out of high school. Everybody wanted him. All the teams in the SEC. A lot of times we like to look at these offer lists for guys just to get a gauge. And, if you're offered by most of the schools in that league at that position, you've got to be an athlete and you got to be physically tough. Florida State hasn't had near the depth that they've needed at linebacker in some time. In my opinion, he could go a long way in helping this group provide some of that. All right, next on this list is Jeremiah Byers. He comes in at 23. I'm not going to lie. I'll tell you, Matt, I was very disappointed in Jeremiah Byers last year coming in from UTEP. I thought he was going to make a greater impact. I thought he'd be more consistent. I think he's a guy that has a chance, if he doesn't play well, to lose his job. Now, some of that has to do with Robert Scott and whether or not he ever gets healthy, because we know Darius Washington can play left tackle. Could you put Scott at right tackle? Would Otto beat him out at some point? If I really like Otto a lot, is he somebody that could end up winning that job? But in the interim, I do know that Jeremiah Byers is going to play a lot. I have him in the top 25 because I projected him as a starter, but I think he's kind of a weak starter. You had him at 29, so we had him pretty much next to each other. Yep. But we both, I think, would admit that he's got to get better.
Yeah, I think this is a big boomer bust, right? Like this could be one of those where like we're 100% right, where he's middle of the pack, not middle of the pack, top 25, like a good player, or he's going to completely just go downhill. I like Otto as well. That's someone who damn well he's chomping at the bit, ready there to take that job. And he just, again, very disappointing last year. I think there was a lot of hype going into it where he has the speed. He has the stuff you want. It just didn't show up on the field. And if it does show up on the field, we're looking pretty and we're both right. But if not, he's off that top 40 list very fast.
Got great feet. I think he fooled a lot of people because of those feet. We thought when we saw him getting out, Florida State likes to pull their linemen. And when you saw him early on with those feet, you thought, oh, he's got to be athletic. Maybe they could even slide him to guard. He's a big guy. It just didn't really translate. So it's a big year for him. We'll see if he bounces back. Like I said, we both have him in the top 30 at wide receiver. Another guy that we're looking at closely and we're saying, come on, it's your time. Kentron Poitier at wide receiver, a huge target. He is 6'3", 6'4", 200 plus pounds. There are moments in his career where we look at Kentron and we go, oh, that's going to translate. He's going to be the guy eventually. He's going to be at least a solid number 2 for you at some point. Well, this is the point. I mean, now is the time, right? I mean, he stuck around. He's played a lot of football. He's had moments. He's never put it together over extended periods of time. Some of that is injury trouble more than anything else. I know you've got him pretty high at 21, I believe. So you like Kentron Poitier. I like him too. I had him a little bit lower at 30. I just want to trust him, Matt. I just want to trust him, and that means he's got to be healthy.
And that's kind of where I'm at too, to be honest with you. I wanted to put him higher. Like I really did. Like it was like one of those things where like, who's going to be that wide receiver 2 there, where it's like you're debating between him, Hakeem, and a couple other guys. And it's just like, I want to put him up higher, but like you said, I do not trust him. I've seen too many drops when it came to the spring game, came to the in spring camp. Like I'll tell you, when going into the spring game, I texted one of my friends. I was like, this is going to be one of the things that's going to happen. DJU is going to have a beautiful deep ball to Kentron, and he's going to drop it. And that almost happened. It was close. I think it was like a 30-yard throw, something. It wasn't a deep ball, but I was pretty close to being right on that. It's just that's the issue for me is I wanted to give him that wide receiver 2 spot, and I want to so bad. He deserves it. He really does. He's been around so long. He should know everything, but it's just I need to see it. Right? Like, I think that's the way it is for both of us. You just need to see it on the field. They're
going to need a guy, possibly 2, at wide receiver to do something we haven't seen him do yet, which is become consistent. And when it's a younger player like Hakeem, he's got a greater grace period because, he's just getting used to the program. It's year 2. Yep. When it's somebody like Poitier, time's up. Now's the time to really arrive and make plays for. He's a guy that has a chance, oddly, I think, if he puts it all together, to have an NFL career. He's also a guy that could just fade off into oblivion if he cannot get on the field with any degree of consistency. So let's hope he does. Richie Leonard is at guard. He's our final guy at number 21. 335 pounds. The number one thing that stood out to me about Richie Leonard, and again, I brought up the guards at the top of this list because I think the reason they brought in these two guys at guard was they wanted more size. They've got a lot of it here. One of them's 325, the other one's 330, whatever it is. They want to be able to run the ball. They were so frustrated last year on not being able to run the ball in short yardage situations. You bring these two horses in. You talk about that offensive backfield with the 4 to 5 running backs that they have choices with, right? Different styles. And you've got a 255-pound quarterback. There's no reason that you ought not be able to run the ball in short yardage situations with all of this girth. But the thing that stood out to me about Richie Leonard is athletic. He is very athletic. For a guy that big, you should not be able to run that way. I think that he's got a chance to be very good. You had him at 24. I had him at 20. Clearly, we agree on this guy.
Yeah, I love him. I really do love him. And just from being around him, too, like at camps recently, he's a good dude to talk to. He's fun to be around. I really like him. And he also has the experience. Like, we look at TJ Ferguson. He doesn't even have close to the experience that Richie has when it comes to I think he started most games at Florida last year, right? 12. Yeah. I don't think they didn't play the 13th. So he started all 12, and he was solid. That's all you need. When it comes to this, what we need to run between the tackles and go straight down, get Cam Davis's big butt in there and just run him down the middle. He's going to be essential for that. Just put him right behind TJ, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we were in a good position there. We both agree with him. I think a lot of people do. So this is exciting to watch this offensive line this year. I think they're going to take a step forward. It's interesting. We both had him pretty much in the same spot. List is fun to do. This has been fun to talk about. You and I are going to do more, I think, in the future. So in the interim, I'll encourage everybody to read Matt's stuff on warchant.com, keeping us abreast of all the things that are going on in recruiting and doing some other things as well, including this list with us. Until next time, he's Matt LaSerre. I'm Jeff Cameron. Thanks for watching, everybody.